You're listening to the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour with Blaze and Ken. And now, Blaze and Ken.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour. I'm Blaze.
I'm Ken.
How you doing?
This new season has been a blast. I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
I have just been enjoying the caliber of the guests we've had, and I'm lucky tonight because I have a good friend of mine on tonight that I'm really looking forward to and excited about. And this has been a bit of a long time coming, and in a weird way, you kind of know our guest, but don't, because he's helped us out in the beginning of our show too. And it's going to be great to talk to him. We have Mikey Perez, again, good friend of mine, producer, manager. There's a lot of things he does, and we're going to get into all this after we bring him on.
Yeah.
But
I'm
let's
excited.
let's talk a little bit. We always talk about the stuff we're watching, right?
We do.
So what do you have going on right now?
Well, there's the show Love and Death. I kind of binged that one pretty quickly. That's the one with Elizabeth Olsen, and it's based on it is a true story. It actually says a true story.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was really good. I loved just the whole. I don't want to give too much away because I know a lot of people have not watched that one yet. But yeah, it's definitely worth the watch. I've been telling people when they're like, "Oh, can you have any suggestions for me?" And I'm like, Love and Death. It was really interesting, and I just liked how it unfolded. And because it's based on it is a true story, it kind of is told in a different way. So there's that one, and then I've been watching a lot of Korean TV. I think I mentioned this before.
Yes.
And there's a new show called Siren. It's a game show, kind of like a Survivor, and it's 4 women on a team from each different area. So like different things that have sirens. So like the police, firefighters, I mean athletes maybe because the siren to start an event, bodyguards, stunt doubles, or stunt people. Anyway, it was so cool to watch it. I did I binged that one all too, and that one's definitely worth checking out. I thought it was really quite interesting, and I think there's I don't know who won and kind of all the little twists and turns in the game and all of that. It was reminding me. So if you like Survivor, check out Siren for sure. So how about
All
you?
right.
What have you been watching?
Well, considering that you said that you were watching something based on a true story, I've
Yeah.
been watching the new show on Peacock, actually titled "Based on a True Story," starring Kaylee Cuoco, and it's interesting. It tackles a lot of the whole murder podcast culture right now, and I don't believe it's based on a true story. It's just called that. It is a fictional show, and the question is, it's about a killer, and these people that decide to do a podcast and wrangle in who they think the killer living around them is, and hopefully trying to expose them. It's actually very interesting and funny and clever.
Interesting. That has no
Yeah,
tie into our guest today.
I don't think so. Although he has worked with many people who have played killers.
That's true. That's true. I was thinking when you had mentioned that we were going to have him on today, I was thinking about the guests that we had on that he, brought on for us basically and kind of arranged the whole thing. But Brandon Crane from
Brendan
It
Crane was
fame,
awesome. Yeah,
amazing.
he was such a love to talk to. And Tuesday Night,
And
who was
Tuesday night,
who was
yeah.
one of our first guests too. And Mikey and Tuesday go back a long time, and there's a lot of history with me and the two of them. And we've known each other for so long at this point. God, I just feel old now. Wait a minute, what happened here?
No,
We're
I
gonna
hear
get in.
you.
We're going to get into some of that, but one of the things that our guest Mikey and I bonded over early on, believe it or not, a love of the X-Men, which is why I have this going on here.
Well, let's see.
And someone has a very beautiful Phoenix shirt tonight. I appreciate that.
It's kind of like Silver Phoenix / X-Men Phoenix.
Yep. Yeah. Mike and I have had many a conversation bonding over the X-Men, and most notably the 90s era of the comic books. And that was the heyday of the animated series, which we both have a love and appreciation for. And I think that might actually have a thing tonight on this episode, if I understand correctly. I don't know.
Maybe. But I think it's time. I think that we should bring Michael Perez in. Mikey Perez. Let's welcome Mikey. Hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey
So nice
guys.
to meet you.
Brought the drink.
Mm.
Although
Nice.
It's just Crystal Light. That's all it is.
It's quite all right. It's quite all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's so nice to finally meet you.
Nice to
And
meet
and say
you.
thank you too for the amazing guests that you've got us. I know it's not really an introduction for Ken because I think he had met them before, but for me, and it was just they were just incredible guests. So thank you so much. Looking
Oh,
forward
thank
to
you.
delve into how you know them and kind of all about you. But first, I'm going to let Ken do the old you know male hello.
Chum, how you doing? No, no, Mike. I mean, let's face fact. I mean, you and I met. I was doing my old show, and we connected because I was booking Tuesday night for the show, and you came in and helped set that all that up. And first off, thank you because that was the moment that actually helped start a friendship that I am totally grateful for, and I've always appreciated. So thank you very much.
Well, I mean, I'm probably more appreciative than you are, but for your friendship and all these years, I don't even know how many years. I just know it's been a long time.
Yeah, I want to say 2010 or 2011 was when you and I first started talking. It's been a
Wow.
Probably,
long time now.
probably, yeah, probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's start off. When again, I met you because you were managing or you were helping to manage Tuesday night, and you were wrangling celebrities and guests at conventions. That's
Yes,
originally how I met you. You were a manager and a wrangler. How did you get your start there? How did that happen?
Yeah.
by accident. Just that it's that generic answer that everyone always gives. Yeah, literally by accident. I was taking publicity PR classes, and then part of that I had to intern. I had to do an internship, either at a television studio or a radio station, and I chose radio station because I'm lazy and I didn't want to go in all the time. So, and it just happened to be the month of October, and they said we would like to interview someone that was in a horror film, uh one person a week. And the first person that I thought of was Tuesday, because I not because of A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, but I love the opening credits song. And like that, for me, that I mean it was all selfish that I wanted her to do this. And I reached out to her manager at the time, who was an evil little troll. Um, and I will say that proudly because she is. Um, and she was like, Tuesday will not be doing this interview. She will not be doing anything, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just like, let me have it. And the next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call from Tuesday herself. And she's like, oh, no, of course I'll do it. And she did it. We stayed in touch. And then she asked when I was graduating, and I told her, I was like, well, just in a few months, actually. And she goes, well, why don't you move out here when you graduate, and I'll hire you to be my publicist. She helped me find a place to live. Um, she basically took care of everything and got me all set up out here. And then, I mean, we bonded as friends more than anything. But another friend of mine, Tommy Hudson, who I did the Never Sleep Again documentary with, was like, have you ever booked Tuesday in a horror convention? And I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't know what a horror convention is. It was just this, it sounded like a scam to me. So I can only imagine when I actually go after new clients, how it sounds like a scam to them. So I booked her at a show, and that was that. So
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, the first time I interacted with you, I was kind of concerned or worried that I was going to have to deal with what you did trying to reach out to Tuesday the first time, getting shut down
oh,
because I was used to getting shut down by management and
yeah,
publicists and
yeah,
everything.
you got. I mean that's just part of the gig.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, I get it's their job, for most agents to protect their client, but it's like they're also kind of breaking the rules by not passing on the information that an opportunity is arising for them.
Hmm.
So
Do you think that currently, just with social media, and I think maybe after COVID, when everything was online, do you think that people are more accessible?
yes.
Yeah, I do
And
too.
agents hate that. I
Yeah,
hate it.
know.
I hate it to a degree. I hate it to a degree.
Yeah.
So, I'm only a publicist to one person these days anymore. But yes, even to a degree, I dislike it as well. So
Yeah,
So
I
so
can
so let's
imagine.
so let's jump in a little bit, Mike, too, because you brought up the Never Sleep Again documentary. You are a producer. You've done a lot of producing in regards to a lot of the genre documentaries. How did
yeah,
that come about? How did you get involved with all that?
just fans being fans.
Mm,
Um, there was a big group of people. I wasn't yet in how it all started with a group of people who were definitely fans. Only a couple people involved in that circle had actually done stuff. Daniel Farrens, who was the director of Never Sleep Again,
Yep.
he wrote Halloween 6. So
Yeah.
he was kind of already established. The rest of everybody kind of was just on that little up and coming kind of thing. And
mhm.
Tommy invited me in, and that's how I became a part of it. And for the most part, and that was just booking talent, reaching out to cast members from Elm Street, all the movies, and just getting them in the chair for their interview. So that's kind of how that started.
Because I got to tell you, I've always been a fan of a lot of the stuff that you put out. Again, Never Sleep Again, the Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, Camp Crystal Lake Memories, the Return of the Living Dead doc. There's so many. Like, how do you keep track of all of them, and how do you wrangle everybody to get involved with all of your projects? Because it's a lot of people,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, I mean, keeping track is not the issue. I mean,
Well,
the
it's a whole
problem is,
franchise, though, right? I mean, like each one of these is like a giant franchise.
well, that's what makes it easy in a sense. It to sell a one-off movie. I mean, I don't think it would. I'm not interested in doing a documentary on one movie. You know what I mean? Like, so when we did Pennywise, um, I feel that that's a harder sell because it is just one movie. But when you cover a franchise, it gets people really excited, like really, really, really excited. Um, but I love, 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 love. It's not usually the role that I'm supposed to play in the documentaries, but I love tracking people down. Like I love finding people because there are people, like currently one of the ones that I'm currently in production on now is Sleepaway Camp, and I'm covering the first 3 movies. Um, and I've interviewed most of the people from the sequels already, and some of them they thought it was a prank because when I find them, like most of the time I have to find like a relative, or
Right.
I find like a lease from an old apartment that still has their phone number if it still works, if I'm lucky. Or I find their number at work. So I call them, and who was it?
Tell me it was Pamela.
It was not Pamela. Pamela's actually very accessible.
She's actually an in-law too.
Oh, well, see,
Yeah.
Really?
I was almost half expecting a phone call at one point.
Well, you still might get that. But I think it was Kendall Bean, who was in the second movie, and we called her at work, and she literally was like, "I haven't heard Sleepaway Camp in over 30 years." She's like, "Is
Wow.
this a joke?" And I'm like, "No." We're actually doing a documentary, and these people are like, "Why on earth would you do a documentary on these movies?" Like, because they're genre films. They're not Oscar-winning performances or movies. So, the first thing I did, I said, well, I want to film the sequel people because they were in Atlanta, and there was actually a horror convention going on at the same time. So I asked them all to come in as guests of the horror show so they could see the fandom, because that's part of it. Because when I get to the legacy aspect of it, like, they don't know what to say. They're like,
Right.
does this film have a legacy? Because it was dead on arrival when they did it, but you know, they loved it. They loved the fans, and they thought the fans were so good. So it really worked out in my favor in that sense. But yeah, I love tracking people down. Like
Yeah.
it's a therapeutic thing for me.
Well, you mentioned, a lot of the documentaries that you've talked about are horror based, thriller horror. So bring us back a little bit. What was your favorite horror growing up? How did you get into that genre and kind of wrap yourself around it?
The, this is where people are gonna like log off.
Yeah,
I'm
because
not.
I know the answer.
Yeah, I'm not really a horror fan.
Okay.
I mean, I am, but I'm not.
Okay.
So I do like. If I had to pick, a subgenre within the genre, I would say I'm a slasher guy. But I like, the cheesy, like the Freddys, the Jasons, the Michael Myers, the Chuckies,
Okay.
Angela Bakers, I kind of like those movies. But you will never see me watching a new horror film. I mean, even like the last 3 Halloween movies that came out, even if they were good movies, I'm like this the entire time because I can't stand it. I can't, like, it's gross. And anything that resembles anything Rob Zombie would do grosses me out. So basically we do horror films because horror sells. Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, those are names that stick around, that are constantly talked about. So I mean, that's kind of how we just kind of jump from franchise to franchise. Now, we did recently do a Police Academy documentary, and I should say
fun.
franchise because we covered all 7 films.
Oh, that's amazing.
How it's going to do, we don't know. It's comedy, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to have to do a different setup than what we've done in the past. I don't know if we're going to get like huge distribution deals, or it might just be something that might be good for like airing on E or something. You know what I mean? Like television. So,
Well, my brother and I will definitely watch it because I remember him doing the voices of a lot of the characters, and I mean Steve Guttenberg. There was just so many
Steve.
great ones. Oh yeah, absolutely. Is he part of the doc?
Oh yeah.
Good, perfect.
Oh yeah.
I've known about this one for a while, and I'm still chomping at it. I can't wait for this to come out. I've been a huge fan forerever. So when you told me that, when you finally told me that you were working on it, like, I got excited.
Well, because my so I do documentaries on my own. I also have a producing partner here in the U.S., Tommy Hudson, who I worked with on Never Sleep Again and Crystal Lake Memories and all that stuff. And I have a group of guys over in the UK that I do documentaries with as well. And we have to make the most of it when they're over here because they're only here for so long. So I had this crazy notion of like, we need to do 2 documentaries back to back. Like, so we have stuff. So we literally have like 5 documentaries done. And in the can, but a little thing called COVID got in the way and kind of stalled some things out a little bit. So Police Academy is coming. It probably won't be until next year though. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, Mike, too, because again, repping celebrities, doing the conventions, you have to see some very interesting things on a convention floor with guests.
Mm-hmm.
And is
What's
that
the question?
Well, what's the question?
Well, I'm trying to base your reaction first as to where I'm going to go with this. No, what would you say is one of the most bizarre things that you've seen either from a fan or from a guest on the convention floor, at least where interaction's concerned?
Bizarre things
that you're allowed to, that you're actually allowed to talk about.
I am you know what? I am an open book. If it happened, I'm going to sell it. I don't really know. Like I'm one of those guys when something really crazy happens, like I miss it. I don't know why. Like it's just it's never in timing for me. It was like that in high school, when everyone would gather around because someone was fighting. I always missed the fight. Like I never got to see it. So I'm like, what happened? I mean, for me, the most odd thing I think I could say that I've seen was Gary Busey coming down in his pajamas with this huge punch bowl to the VIP party and just started filling it up with ice cream. Like he was making a sundae, and and they had these little bowls for that. He's like, I'm not using that. And he literally grabbed this punch bowl. He went to the back of the kitchen of the hotel and he grabs this huge bowl, and and no one's stopping him. I mean, who's gonna stop him? Like, they're like, this dude must be out of his mind. Like, but he got his sundae and then he left. Like, but for the most part, for fans, honestly, the fans don't. There's. I don't get a weirdness from them. They're for the most part, they're very nice people, and I've made some good friends with people that I've met there. So I can't say that I've seen. Now, is it weird? Like, what? So I just, booked Harry Hamlin at his very first show as a new client of mine, and he got to see, like, he was like, this is so cool. Like, he's like, I feel like I stepped in, like, to another world. Like, and he was so fascinated with John Kassir, who was the voice of the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
And he was like, so this long line that goes all the way there, he goes, because he did a voice? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, it must have been a scary voice. And I said, well, he did it for you when he walked up to you and called you Scary Hamlin. He was like, he did? And I said, well, I hope you don't think he talks like that on a normal basis. And, he goes,
hello, Scary Hamlin.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Ken does a pretty good Crypt Keeper.
That's what he did. I was like, yeah, he doesn't talk like that naturally. So Harry didn't get it. And then he's like, this is like really neat. And the stories he was told from some fans, like there was a girl that came up and her father was dying of cancer, and they watched Clash of the Titans like every day. Like that's when that made her dad feel good. He forgot, like everything was forgotten, and he got to live 2 hours of peacefulness through this movie, and that really touched Harry. Like that was really moving for him. And he's like, wow. So like after that day, he's like, this is like emotionally draining. And I said, yeah, it can be. I said, there's a lot of energy, leaving the body and coming in. So, you take that in, and, sometimes it's hard to, dump at the door, because he literally he texted me all night long. Like, he was like, that was so great. Thank you so much. And, Lisa and I look forward to doing so many of these. And it was so much fun. So, it's so I can't say weird things. A lot of good stories and good moments come through.
It was fun to actually have friends that have never been exposed to this environment before, and seeing the look on their faces as I got to introduce them to people that they grew up with and that they got to have, emotional relationships with as kids growing up with this stuff, and being the person to be able to introduce them to those people. And for that moment, I felt renewed doing the conventions. It didn't seem like it was the same thing.
It is, it definitely, I love, like, giving people, like, there are moments where, and I'll go back to Harry Hamlin at his first time, just the other weekend, he was, like, there were moments that just felt like transactions. Mm-hmm. And then there were moments that literally were so, like, that was a moment for that person. And, and it literally, if meeting someone, getting an autograph and taking a photo with someone, or getting your item signed inspires or changes or anything your life that much, then that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
That's where the fun is.
Yeah.
And that's where he had fun, because he was like in his mind, he doesn't watch anything that he does And, so he's so removed from it. And he was like, this silly movie that I did 40 years ago, 40 something
Listen,
years ago.
I'm still a fan of that movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, me
And
too.
people talk like, and he's like, I never thought like people would still literally talk like it just came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it was just a goofy movie, and that's what, though he's a new client, me and him bonded like exceptionally well. He and I just went together like this, and he knows his place, he knows his film history, and like he's not afraid to say, oh, that was the goofiest movie I ever did. Or like, and where he and I first met was when I worked on Veronica Mars, and
Right.
he and his wife Lisa Rinna played husband and wife on Veronica Mars.
Right.
And that's where we first met. And he flat out, he was like, I didn't know, because it was what happened. I don't want to spoil in it for anyone who's never watched Veronica Mars, but yeah, he wasn't a good guy in Veronica Mars. So.
Right. It's funny when you were saying about him not kind of understanding why Clash of the Titans maybe connects to so many people. I think a lot of it goes back to school, right? I mean, when we were in grammar school, high school, I remember we had to read all those Greek classics and, Perseus and the stories. And then if you have any kind of science background with astronomy too, then you're talking about the Pleiades and the Seven
Constellations,
Sisters,
yeah.
the constellations, all of that. And then you have the Minotaur and you have Medusa and you have all of those cool, so it doesn't matter if it was claymation or exactly how it was if it seemed cheesy to him. I could watch it again too, like that, no problem. Like it doesn't seem cheesy to me.
Well,
I love it.
And I think that's probably where the difference. See, because him not watching it,
Yeah,
well, I'm sure he's probably seen it by now. But the thing is like he's so disattached from it. Like I get where he would say it's a silly movie because when he's on set and he's pulling off heads and fighting,
he's in a loincloth.
There's nothing there. You know what I mean? Like he's fighting nothing.
Yeah.
So it probably does feel a little silly.
Well, I wonder somebody too that has such a longevity in the business too, like such a long career. The technology has changed so much too. So you have the special effects are so different. So I could also see where maybe that would be like, well, back then versus now.
Well, maybe not as much, Blaze, because I mean, I'm sure Harry had the sets behind him, and it was Ray Harryhausen that wound up doing all the stop motion, which I think was one of his last movies, actually. Ray Harryhausen was one of my all-time favorite special effects guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of no different nowadays than acting in front of a blue screen or green screen with nothing in front of you either. Right? I mean, I'm sure.
No, in that sense, no. Yeah, in that sense, it's probably pretty much all the same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I did want to ask you though, bringing up Harry Hamlin, have you spoken to his wife too during your?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because you and I are both, I mentioned it earlier, X-Men fans, but we're also big Marvel fans.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did the idea of Lisa being in the TV movie of Nick Fury come up at all?
I mean, did it come up? No. But I mean, I know what she did. I know what she did, and she knows what she's done. We didn't talk about it. I mean, for me, like, when I talk to these people, like it's I have a loyalty system, and I'm never gonna lie to them. I'm never gonna cheat them. They're loyal to me. I'm loyal to them, and that's just the way it is. And and I flat out told because they had questions at first. They're like, we don't know about this. Like, you have to educate us.
Yeah.
And I told Lisa, I said, I'm sure you're gonna get every gay from around the world wanting a Real Housewives photo, right? I'm like, it's just gonna happen like that, because let's just face it, the Real Housewives of whatever city is a huge pop culture phenomenon.
Yep.
But she had my heart in Melrose Place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so honestly, like, and aside from me having that connection with them back in 2005 on Veronica Mars, aside from that, like I and I told her then, I said, Melrose Place is my heart. Like, it's, I've watched it. I don't know how many times over again. So,
Well, Mikey, you and I have that connection too, because it's that whole primetime soap opera genre. I mean, you and I talk about Desperate Housewives still to this day.
yeah.
Actually.
Well, I didn't see Desperate Housewives until it was off the air for years.
Oh, okay. Because I watched it. I watched it when it was originally on.
No, see, I didn't go through that. My mom was very much. My mom's a hippie. She's a fun-loving, free-spirited woman. Smokes a lot of pot, like just the biggest hippie as you can be. But she wanted me more than anything. Growing up in Michigan, you don't have a lot of options in life. I mean, it's limited. The one thing she wanted me to do was get out and make something of myself. So she was very hard on me when it came to television. And so basically, I got to watch X-Men on Saturday mornings, and I got to watch Melrose Place Monday nights. And before that, I think it was Thursday nights, and then they changed it to Mondays. And my work schedule revolved around those two shows.
Both giant soap operas, mind you.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes. And so that's pretty much all I watched. I never watched horror. Like, I never saw an unedited, not made for like TV version of a horror movie until I was probably like 17, almost 18. Because my mom she just didn't want me to get wrapped up in that. She doesn't like horror. So that's probably where I kind of get my like, where I'm like, I can live with it or not. But my stepmother, oddly enough, was a horror fanatic. So there was always horror being like Unsolved Mysteries was always on in the background. And, though I couldn't watch TV, I heard it. I heard that music and that guy talking,
Yep.
Robert Stack.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, Melrose Place was my my thing growing up, and X-Men before that.
So wait, that's the perfect segue, because Ken did tell me ahead of time that one of the connections between you two was X-Men.
Yeah.
So how are you guys up for a little game?
I'm nervous.
Ken's always nervous.
He knows so much more than I do. Like,
stop.
All right. So I have some questions. They could either be comic book related or film related. So you'll have that kind of the run of the gambit.
I'm starting to sweat.
Harder.
Well, hold on. I'm going to say Mikey's got the upper hand on this one, because I know Mikey reps some of the voiceover talent for the 90s X-Men cartoon.
There we go.
So I'm already calling shenanigans on this game.
See, shenanigans. This home is built on love and shenanigans, but Mikey's built on shenanigans. There we go. Shenanigans, we call it. All right. So question 1, why were they called X-Men?
Because of the X gene.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that it was because of Professor Xavier, which partially is right, but it's mostly.
I mean, I think that could go. I don't think it would be Xavier, because then you're looking at like Xavier's men, and that would kind of like isolate the women. I feel
right.
So I think it's more of like the X gene. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so number 2, who are the 5 founding members of X-Men?
Well, is there a buzzer? Like, I feel like
no. You know what? Go ahead, Mikey. You ought to go first.
Marvel Girl, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman, Angel.
Yeah,
that's right.
Bravo, fantastic. All right, which X-Men character did both Famke Janssen and Sophie Turner play?
Oh, come on
the big screen.
Jean Grey.
That would be Jean Grey. Yeah.
There we go.
My favorite character, by the way.
Yeah. All right, Doctor. Well, real quick, Ken, who's your favorite character?
My favorite X-Men?
Yeah.
It's a toss-up. I'm a huge Magneto guy. But if I also had to pick one of the actual team members, I would say Gambit.
You can't pick a villain.
Listen, the one thing about X-Men is it's kind of the perspective of the characters.
No, because actually, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things in the storylines. If you go hardcore back, to like Magneto had a lot of legit points. He really did.
Yeah,
Well,
he
I always
did.
saw it when you look at it when they first came out, it was the 60s.
Yeah,
And I always kind of saw the contrast of Xavier and Magneto more of a Martin Luther King, Malcolm X type
Hmm.
dynamic, where they both believe in the same ideals. They just go about them in different
that's right.
ways.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. My favorite's Wolverine. Okay. All right. Question 4. Dr. Hank McCoy, played by Kelsey Grammer, is known by what mutant name?
Beast.
Beast.
Correct. Correct. That was easy. Okay. Number 5. In X-Men Days of Future Past, which song plays during Quicksilver's amazing rescue scene in the Pentagon?
Oh,
Sweet dreams are made of these. No, is that not it?
Nope.
oh,
It's by the Eurythmics.
No.
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 no! You're thinking the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in Dark Phoenix. Oh, that's where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Is it? Oh, not Knights in White Satin. Time in a Bottle.
Yeah. I knew you'd get it if I hummed a little bit of it.
He's got
Yeah,
more
Jim
gray
Jim
hair than I
Croce's.
do.
I have way too much gray hair.
So
I have
I'll let him have that one because he's got more gray hair.
All right, number 6. Nightcrawler's body is covered in scars, but what does each scar represent?
Sin, every sin.
a penance.
Every sin he committed. Yes, every sin he committed.
You know what?
Uh,
Someone added that in the movie because that is not a
Yeah.
factual thing.
Well, she did say the comics.
Because did
and
you
the
see
movie.
how
Yeah,
many
it was-
stars he
it was-
had? That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I want to know what he was doing.
Exactly.
All right, number 7. Which Hollywood star briefly cameoed as the Vanisher as part of Deadpool's X-Force team in Deadpool 2?
Was that Brad Pitt?
It was, yeah. It was Brad Pitt, yeah. I think Brad's always the guess, right? These days, it's like Brad Pitt or Matt Damon, one of those. All right, number 8. Wolverine's claws are made out of which fictional material?
Go ahead, Mikey.
I mean, adamantium. I mean,
Yes, it's not vibranium.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, they are technically bone too,
The-
but
well,
it depends on what era we're in. Yeah.
yes,
that's true.
exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. Number 9. What was the group of mutants going to be called before Stan Lee settled on X-Men? This I thought was the hardest question out of all of them.
that's definitely hard. Tomorrow Men?
The mutants.
Close. I mean, Merry Mutants.
Oh, Mary
Oh,
Marvel.
you know what? That would have
Oh,
been
yeah.
that would have been dead on arrival.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, it's all about Stan Lee and the whole alliteration too.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think the last storyline that I remember was after Operation Zero Tolerance when Cerebro was like going after the X-Men.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's the last time
So-
because the story started getting really ridiculous.
So again, it goes back, Mikey. You and I were just fans in the '90s, and then after that, it just stopped. We just stopped reading.
You guys did well, though. You guys did really well. Those a couple questions were pretty hard that were the not gimmies, you know. So
Yeah.
for sure, good job. Bravo. We'll cheers to that. Cheers to that.
All right. So, Mikey, let me ask you. There have been so many things you've been a part of, so many projects you've worked on. Can you give us a little bit of an idea or heads up of what you have going on in the pipeline right now? I know you
Yeah.
had brought up Police Academy coming out possibly next year. What else do you have that you could talk about?
God, what am I working on? I'm working on so much. So with the release of the Robert Englund doc just came out. So
Yes.
that's brand new news. And then
Actually, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it is fresh and out now.
my boys from the UK, my UK crew, you know, we always get on the phone and we're like, what are we doing next? What are we doing? Because previously, before that, you know, we they did a Hellraiser documentary, which I wasn't a part of that one. But I did do a small helping in the Fright Night documentary, so I was a part of that. And that's kind of where we started our vibe. And Gary Smart, who is the producing partner, and Adam Evans. Gary actually wrote my Return of the Living Dead documentary because he wrote the book on Return of the Living Dead. So we're all kind of like intertwined in everyone's universe. But so we were talking about what could we do. Again, we're running out of franchises. Things are, everything's getting covered. And I can't remember, like, it was just someone brought up Elm Street, and I said, we cannot do it. I said, I've already done Elm Street. Like, nothing more needs to be done, really.
It was over 8 hours.
Well, there was Never Sleep Again, and then I did I Am Nancy with Heather.
Oh, that's right.
So, it's like, aside from that, like, I don't know if there's anything left to tell. But then, Gary, him being a real horror fan, unlike myself, Robert's done a lot of genre films. And I said, well, why don't we do a Robert Englund doc? And because I have a direct contact to Robert, we just put in a call and was like, why, would you like a documentary on yourself, sir? And he was like, sure, why not? Like,
that doesn't sound like Robert.
No, not at all, right? So yeah, no, like it was good. And it fell together, and and what was really fun about it is, like, we had the subject matter was essentially the same, but then we got to bring in all these fun extra people.
Yeah.
And I almost fell out of my chair doing this one. This one got me because I'm a huge Dynasty fan of the original Dynasty. Okay.
Yes.
And the list of people who were already going to be interviewed for this had already been done before the boys got over here. So basically, I was just contacting people to set up the interviews, and of course, partaking in the filming of it. But I'm sitting in the studio, and I'm outside of where the interview is taking place, the current interview, and the door opens up. And none other than Stephen Carrington, Jack Coleman, walks in, and I'm like, and he's literally like looking at me like, hi. And I'm like, like, I could not talk. I was just like, I did not know he worked with Robert. I didn't know he was coming in because his email didn't match his name. So I literally just said, hi there, just confirming your interview time, blah, 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 blah. Did not know it was him. I almost died, and I embarrassed the crew because I literally was just like, you are my everything, and I love you. And he was just like, wow, thanks. He was flattered, but I had the same reaction to Julie Brown too. So I'm not trying to play favorites, but Jack Coleman, oh my God.
I was going to ask you who your favorite Dynasty character was.
Stephen Carrington.
Yeah.
How could it was so like taboo to have a openly gay character on a television series back then. Now, granted, I didn't see Dynasty until I don't know, 2015 maybe. Right. So I mean, I literally binged. And so it was so taboo. And Aaron Spelling really knows how to write that juice.
Oh yeah.
So, it was, it was amazing. And it was, so for me, like if I had grown up in that time and, and I had watched that, it would have been good for me as a gay man, to see representation up on the screen. I find it very important. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're shoving this down our throat. But you know what? Sometimes it's really important to see yourself. Why is it okay for, the person who's saying that to see themselves, but I can't see myself? So I'm glad that Aaron Spelling was willing to push buttons. But,
I love that you mentioned that because we had a guest on, I want to say it was about a month or so ago, and she's a friend, my friend Anna, and she's Latino, and she had mentioned, when I asked her who her heroes were growing up, and she said, Blaze, there weren't a lot growing up for me to besides like Chiquita Banana and things like, things like that. Like she was very, and I felt for her because I was just like, I can't imagine that, so I feel I have empathy for what you're saying. And I'm glad that, that you mentioned that for sure.
Well, that's why I think, I one of my gravitational pulls towards the X-Men is that,
Right.
you learn in that sense, like it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
And it teaches you those life lessons that there's going to be people out there who don't like you.
Right.
And and I've always been that person who doesn't necessarily, like, I've heard a lot of nasty comments growing up being said about, I came out very early. I think 11 when I came out. But I heard comments, and I still hear homophobic words and slurs and stuff. And, and I'm not one of those people who gets mad about it, but it's just like, you know what? I just have to be who I am, and hopefully me being a nice person and good to them, rubs off. They're like, oh, well, maybe these people aren't so bad, just because it's just a lot of ignorance is what it is.
Right.
So,
and that's one of the things too, Mikey. I think one of the things that, founded our friendship too is, again, how straightforward, open, honest you are, just how true you are to yourself. I mean, I think we're both the same way, and we kind of connected a lot on that, just being ourselves together. And I totally appreciate our friendship, and I love you to pieces.
I remember, like, first meeting you in person. I specifically remember that moment. Because we had all talked on the phone, and
I'm sorry I disappointed you the first time.
No, it was so funny because you were there and you were doing the the nice thing, because Tuesday, obviously that was her first East Coast appearance.
That was that the Nightmare 4 reunion at Monster Mania?
It was just Tuesday.
Oh no, yes, that's right.
It was Tuesday and Robert. They hadn't been together since they filmed New Nightmare. So that was that moment. And you didn't, like, I didn't say come up to the table, just forget about the line, come up to the
no.
So he waited in line. It was really
stayed. Yeah, that's what I do.
It was his moment to walk up and introduce himself in person. And when he got into line, I remember Tuesday leaning over to me and whispering in my ear, and she was like, oh my God, who is that sexy guy in the background?
No way.
And
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I
definitely was crushing.
I'm busy doing other things, and I'm looking, I'm like, so she and I already had like this whole little conversation. She was like, he is sexy, like, because he had his hair. You had more dark. Your hair was darker, obviously, back then.
No. Actually, my hair's always been like this. I always dye it for convention.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it was nice and done and slicked back, and he was looking good. So we were talking about him, and then he just turns out, he's just this really sweet guy, and I don't take that for granted. Good people, I need to keep close because I like that vibe. And and again, like he said, we connected on so many other levels aside from just knowing, me putting Tuesday in touch with him and all that other stuff. So it's just it was a good time.
But again, it's the friendship and the fact that you and I can always, like, how many times have we spent hours on the phone just being cool and honest and normal with each other?
Many. Like, I mean, right? Thank God cell phones aren't by the minute anymore.
Yeah, really.
I'd be like, you can't call me till after 7.
Wait, no, we can't talk about the new Marvel movie. We'll be on for 3 hours.
and that's what starts it. He's like, what did you think of this? And then we just go.
And that's it. That's right.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, 3 hours have gone by, and I'm like, oh my God, I have so much work I got to do.
I was saying, I'm working on a documentary. I got to go.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I could sit here with you guys and chat forever. Maybe we'll have you come back on again.
Well, let's do it
in the future. We would love that.
Let's break
but
the
we have a
rules.
couple questions that just to get to know you a little bit more before we move on here to our next segment. But my first question for you is, how long would you survive a zombie apocalypse?
Forever.
Are you like okay, so you're one that can, like,
No, you know, I'm not saying I'm Mila Jovovich out there fighting things. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. You know, it's kind of like I tell people, I'm like, when you get in the ocean, I'm like, you're on the shark's turfs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you just got to be smarter than that, you know?
Yeah, I love it. All right, Ken, you're up.
Mikey, what'll it take for me to get you to appreciate Twin Peaks?
I don't know if I'm going to say that on the air.
I'll accept that.
All right, moving on. Which movie is your favorite Disney movie? Cartoon.
Disney, like old, like Disney?
Well, whatever you want. Whatever cartoon.
The Little Mermaid.
Favorite? Yeah. Have you seen the new movie?
No.
So I haven't either, but I'm supposed to go with my goddaughter this weekend, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Most people tell me that it's good, except there's apparently a terrible song in it, like the Scuttle song.
I hate when they do that.
You know, so other than that, I've heard it's not bad. So
yeah.
You know.
Cool. Ken, you're up. Let's try question 2. Let's see if we can get you to.
You've done the horror aspect of documentaries. Is there another franchise outside of that you think you would like to tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, is this a 2-part question?
No.
You didn't say, and what would it be?
What would it be, Mike?
Honestly, it's something that I've literally got put together. Like, I've got it all stringed out, but like I get so many things piled on top of me with what I'm already currently doing. And like, when I get rid of something, I bring on something else. And then the stuff that I want to do gets pushed back, and I got to stop doing that. But I want to do at least a 4 to 5 hour documentary on 90s erotic thrillers.
Okay.
Basic Instinct.
I'll say Basic Instinct.
Poison Ivy, Body of Evidence. Fatal Attraction, Single White Female, you know what I mean? Like those movies, like those, I love a good 90s.
That would be awesome.
So.
That would be awesome.
Very cool. Our final question is, if you could offer a piece of advice to someone who wants to do what you do, what's your advice to them?
Run away.
On a positive side, oh God, I mean, just do it. You know, and that goes for anything. It's just like, if there's not been one thing that I've said that I was going to do that I didn't. It's just like, even if you fail, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't fail unless you try. So just do it. And, you know, and we learn from our mistakes. Like, if we go back to our first documentary to what we have now, there's big differences because we learned along the way. So it's just like, you know, we got lucky because we started with franchises before people were really doing it. So, you know, things parlayed one into the other, but, you know, it's just like, just do it. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. People are going to say, you know, someone's always going to bring you down. Someone's always going to give you a bad review. I've gotten many bad reviews because I didn't have a play all feature on one of my documentaries. You know, it's just like, so it doesn't matter. You can't please everybody. Just do it.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much. We just enjoyed having you here as a guest, and I love the interaction between you and Ken. I like I haven't seen a lot of Ken's like close friends come on. I think one other guy that he was like super close with, we had for his birthday in April. I surprised him, but
closer than
this
me.
is great.
Well, it was Big Papa Pete from the Loud.
Big Papa Pete, yeah.
You are in trouble.
Hey now.
It should have been me.
Well, listen, we didn't get into the Deliverance story either, so that is some happy stuff.
Oh, the one that we brought up the other day. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, let's save that one for next time.
But in a close vein, you are going to be up in our neighborhood soon in August at Monster Mania in Cherry Hill. So we are going to have to get together and hang out and catch up. So yes, I'm looking forward to that.
We've actually been talking about going, you know, and
well, you absolutely should.
So yeah.
No, we're going. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
We'll
talking
definitely
about it. So
we'll definitely be hanging out. So, Mikey,
Yeah.
I love you, brother. I really
Love
do.
you
And
too.
it was
Love you
thank you
too.
so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I feel very blessed and honored to get to be a part of this.
Well, I know you're normally more of the behind the camera guy and not in front of the camera
Oh
guy.
my god,
So
I am such a ham. Like, please, are you kidding me? Like, turn the camera on and I'll give you a show.
wait. So who's more of a ham, you or Robert Englund?
Well, he just talks more.
He does. He does.
I mean, you can be a ham and not say that many words. I love you, Robert. I love you.
So.
all right. Well, it was great to meet you, and we'll see
It
you
was
next
so
time.
nice meeting you.
Yes, definitely. We'll see you
Thank you
together
again,
for
Mikey.
sure.
Do I cancel me out of here? Or do you?
I
No,
got
we
you.
got
Don't
you.
worry,
We got
Pat.
you.
All right. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Take care.
guys.
Good night.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Cheers.
Told you.
All
What do you think?
right.
Mikey's
So
awesome.
fun.
I
He
love
was great.
Mikey.
He feels like he's like, even though he's your close friend, I felt like I could easily,
And
be
that's how
friends
he
with him
is.
as well. It was great.
That is just how he is. Like
Yeah.
what you see is what you get. He's completely genuine. He's honest. He's open, and that's why I think our friendship has lasted as long as it has.
Yeah.
And again, I'm very happy and appreciative to call him a really good friend. And again, I can't wait for August to hang out with him. And
Yeah.
if you come
He
out,
said
we're gonna
so
have a
many,
blast.
he said so many trigger things, and good memories. I mean, that when he said it, it just like kind of popped up for me. Dynasty was one, just because
Yes.
watching with my grandmother, and mom too. Harry Hamlin and Clash of the Titans, that was
Yep.
another one. And of course, the guests that we've had that he's gotten for us, they were all just such great
Brendan Crane, Tuesday
experiences. And
night.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, love it. So
Again, we've talked. Him and I have spent many a conversation talking about Melrose Place, Desperate Housewives, and
yeah.
Marvel films. It's crazy. It's a weird gamut, actually, but I
Yeah.
love all of it.
Absolutely.
So
Well, I think we have two more things to do.
yes,
First, let's actually go beachcombing for a moment
sure.
because there's a tie into X-Men. So let's roll that clip.
All right.
Forever young, I wanna be forever young. On this episode of Beachcombing with Blaze, the extraordinary axolotl. A kind of salamander, the axolotl never grows up. It remains in its larval stage, aquatic with tadpole-like tails. These bizarre and fascinating amphibians can only be found in the wild in a lake outside Mexico City. Also known as the Mexican walking fish, they grow to be about 9 inches in length and vary in color. They like to eat fish, worms, mollusks, and even insects. The axolotl are a healing and regeneration marvel. They can regenerate pretty much any part of their body, including parts of their own brain. Excellent. Axolotls are a critically endangered species, mainly due to pollution, overhunting for food, yes, people do eat them, and use for medicinal purposes. Well, until next time, explore, learn, love the adventure.
All right. Well, there's another piece of business,
Yes.
last piece of business, and that is in the kitchen. Let's go in the kitchen with Nicole.
Let's go.
What's up, Ken and Blaze? I know we're talking about thinking outside the box today, and that's fantastic. It applies to a lot of aspects of life when we have to do problem solving or something of that nature, right? But when it comes to the kitchen, I don't want you to forget to also think inside the box. Let's let go of this idea that processed foods are bad, that we shouldn't eat them, when really a lot of these processed foods that might be in a box can be a vehicle for more nutrient density. Probably heard me say this a time or two before. Two very specific examples. Let's look at mac and cheese out of the box. Would you hear that and think, ooh, maximum nutrition? Maybe not. But what if you take that box of mac and cheese and suddenly you're layering in stuff like mashed sweet potato or leftover roasted broccoli, maybe throwing a little ground beef in there, and suddenly we've packed in all sorts of nutrition because that box of mac and cheese was so easy. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention another favorite boxed item that is always in my kitchen, and that is cereal. A serving of cereal combined with milk and a banana, it's costing us something like 75 cents and providing all sorts of vitamins, minerals, and let's not forget that big vitamin, vitamin J. That's joy. Ken and Blaze, it is always a pleasure. let's go think outside and inside the box.
So we're going outside that box.
Yeah.
Or outside the box. Love it, love it. Thank you,
I think
Nicole.
that was-
Thank you so much.
I think that was how the whole episode tonight went. Actually, it was a little
Yeah.
different, and yeah.
Yeah, it was
So-
great. I loved it. Well, listen, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So I just put the ticker up for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour. You can also follow our Instagrams or on Instagram, the Silver Phoenix
right.
Happy Hour. Gotta love it. All right, my friend, I think that'll do it for us. So
That is, it
we'll
will.
wrap it up. All right, well, have a great week, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take
Take
care.
care, everybody.
You've just enjoyed the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour with Blaze and Ken.